Hi friends, before we start this episode, I just wanted to let you know that here in From Someone Who Gets It, we have raw, vulnerable conversations, and sometimes those conversations can trigger others. I want to let you know that in this season, we touch on suicide, infertility, PTSD, and everything in between. So if those are some subjects that are triggering to you, I just want to let you know that you're heard and you're seen and you're not alone. This podcast is for you, and I hope you join us. Hi everyone, welcome to From Someone Who Gets It, a podcast about life, mental health, and everything in between. I'm your host, Marcela, and this season I'll be sitting down with some of my favorite people having raw, vulnerable conversations about goals, dreams, life, and mental health. Every Monday you can find our episodes on the Cultura Talks channel, and I hope you join in. Hi friends, welcome back to From Someone Who Gets It. Today we are sitting down with one of my favorite humans of all time. She's a director, a producer, a daughter, a friend, Victoria Collado. We'll talk about Amparo for those who had been living under a rock and don't know what Amparo is. Just kidding. But I want to go back 2018. That was my first audition with you.
2017.
17. It was my first audition. It was at Miami. I don't think it exists anymore.
No, it's the studio that was on top of on 12th Street.
Yeah, that's where our first audition was. And one of my favorite things of that audition was you asked us to tell you our sign, what our sign was, and what our favorite ice cream was.
Oh my God, I'm so insane.
No, but I loved it. But at the same time, I thought, okay, bitch, you cannot say strawberry ice cream.
Why?
I feel like I've traumatized people with this ice cream question.
Because I really wanted to do the show. Okay. And I was like, if you say strawberry ice cream, like how memorable is strawberry ice cream? You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, what ice cream do you really love? But like, it's not one you talk about. And I was like, Moose Tracks. You know, Moose Tracks?
Yeah.
So I was like, got it, Moose Tracks. So it finally came to my point and I was like, oh, I'm a Pisces and my favorite ice cream is Moose Tracks. And everyone went, oh, and I said, yes, got it. Score.
I feel like I've asked that question for like, since I really like, meaning since I've directed.
Yeah.
But I always ask that question. And my favorite, there's people who are just like chocolate, deal with it. But then Robbie. But then there's people who are like, but let me like explain. These are my favorite. The people who are just like classics, like they like, you know, chocolate, vanilla, whatever. They don't go into it. The people who like give you a whole dissertation as to why they like rum raisin and why not. And then the lactose intolerant people. They're like, I can't have ice cream.
I mean,
but
you
my
could.
favorite sorbet is
just take a lactate pill. You could eat all the ice cream you want. So that for me was, I had never experienced an audition like that of like, we were given texts, but most of the audition was improv.
Yeah. And also because you guys, there's so many things that you had to deal with when we didn't know what the show was anyway.
Right.
We had no idea what that monster was going to be. But I learned really quickly that you can be a very talented person, but if you're not a good person, the process is going to be shit. I can curse on this podcast, right?
Oh, yep. Girl, absolutely.
Shit. But yeah, it'll be shit. But that's part of it, watching people deal with each other. That's why I like doing stuff in groups, because you watch people be together and you're like, hey, this person's actually going to make the world a better place in this room.
Yeah, it was a unique audition, but I remember leaving that room and saying, oh, no. I need to be in the show. Like, it was this that I've never felt in any other like shows that I've done. Not knowing again what the show was, just reading for a certain character and thinking, oh no, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I need to do this. I remember going home that night and telling my grandfather, who had recently passed, telling him, yo, hook me up. Like, hook me up with this.
Yo.
He
Like,
did some work in there.
oh, he was
He
like,
did work. Well, all of what I think about that show, like for example, Robbie technically didn't fit any role that was written.
yeah.
And it was like, well, we just need to work with that guy. And I remember that with you too. I'm like, I don't know where
Well, I
she's
wasn't
gonna...
even originally supposed to be Margarita,
No.
which was the
I
craziest
forget
thing.
what you were supposed to be.
I was the Rosary. That was who
Oh my
I
God.
totally like.
Get out of
I
here.
know. I think about it and I'm like, me not Margarita.
Well, you want to know something crazy? Gabe was gonna be a bouncer.
Oh,
He was gonna be a bouncer. It was like all this stuff, and it was just. But half of the casting was like, these are really good people, and I don't know, these people have to be in the show. And somehow things started moving, and it was like, this is out of our hands. This is where the rum starts going crazy. But this is, you started seeing people crafting, and like Ryan, who we've talked about.
yeah.
I think we've talked about. Ryan's monologue was just counting at the beginning. He just counted.
Oh my
he
God,
just
I remember
counted
that.
from 1 to 100.
Yes.
And that character turned later into your best friend's husband.
Right.
Like everybody evolved in so many ways.
What I want to talk about is your directing style. Not just because you're sitting here in front of me. It's one of,
Because I slid you $20.
right? No. It's one of my favorite directing styles I've ever. You're one of my favorite directors because you come into the work with so much more than just the work. You want to make sure that we have this character in our body, but we understand how to get there. I want to talk about your process, and we can talk about it with Amparo if you want, but I feel like this is how you approach all of your work.
Yeah.
So how did that come to be, and how did you realize, oh, this is how I want to direct?
So, well, I went to college for acting.
Yeah.
I for sure thought I was going to be an actor.
Oh.
And then and then I quickly realized that if I wasn't performing for like my family, I didn't care. Like I actually was very aggressive towards, not really aggressive, but I
Yeah.
was like, this is boring. Like, why am I talking to anybody that isn't my family right now? But the opposite happened. So people started asking me, hey, can you direct me doing this monologue? So a lot of my work was 1-to-1. It was always the beginning of my career was all monologues. And so it was creating 1-to-1 relationships with actors. And also when you're doing a one-person show and you're working on these things, it's just one person. So you have to take breaks and you have to get to know a person.
Right.
And I remember like directors that I had in college that were very like strict and aggressive. And I have a little bit of football coach in me,
I love it.
but it's like a little bit.
When she comes out, I'm like,
My favorite, but you know what? I don't know if anybody, like, I think I've gotten a little wuss, kind of a little soggy. Not in a bad way.
no, I think.
I was just very intense.
Yeah, but I think it's also you're so passionate
Yes.
about what you work on,
100%.
and that's where the intensity comes
Yeah.
from. Yeah.
But I remember working with like directors that actually were a little bit too mean, a little too rough. And I caught myself, one of the first pieces that I directed in New York, I caught that coming out. And I was like, oh, this is not good. Like they're not having a good time. I'm not having a good time. We're all angry. We're making crap.
Right.
And then I was like, well, if you just try to make each person be the best version of themselves, and if they're working, like the work is different when you work from fear versus when you work from love. And so to me, it's important that you always feel good while you're working, because your best work is going to come out from there. If not, what the heck are we doing?
Yeah.
So that's, I think the discovery of that then became very people focused, became very, obviously always going back to the text, always understanding what you need to create. But I knew, and I learned a lot with Amparo of like, if the actor felt an experience and understood an experience, then they can communicate it.
Yeah.
Which is like why those special moments like the raft and you guys went through the experience first. Like I remember rehearsal, us doing the raft, and then every one of us having that experience.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can then do that for 25,000 people over
Yep.
8 months.
No, and it, as an actor, I felt like I could close my eyes and I was in Margarita's world. Like and nothing could take me out of that world, and which is hard with immersive theater and some drunk patrons some nights, and you just don't know what's going to happen that night.
Yeah.
But I think because you do that work with us, which is not common in
I just don't know how any other way to,
yeah,
meaning like I didn't go to school for directing.
right,
So I don't like whatever, meaning I went to school for theater and for performance, but I don't know whatever that looks like.
right.
I only know this. And I mean, but I got lucky with actors.
And it also is frustrating. Like it's a the process is weird because you get down to this part of like fear and love, and the fear's always gonna try to come forward. And but I think that's where the most magic happens, is when the frustration comes in, and then you just open up and you're like, oh, okay, I know who she is now, and I feel that. And as an actor, again, it's one of the most magical gifts to have a director who's just like, let's take you into that world.
Well, and it's also, you get lucky with, not again, not because I'm sitting here, but two people here happen to be people who legitimately, like, you are somebody who, so like, I never have to actually worry about you because I always know that you come in super prepared.
Yeah.
Um, which could be like, some people make decisions ahead of time and then it's hard because then you have to put it together with a group, but you're so malleable and then you deliver constantly. Like, I never have to worry. I never was worried that you changed the line. I was never worried that a beat wasn't hit in that way, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, like, for example, Robbie's different in the sense of like, I always know he's going to deliver, and Robbie, but every time is slightly different because he's always searching for what's the truth of it.
Right.
And when you blend people like that together, you're like, wow, magic happens.
Right.
But if, I mean, I know we were joking before, but like, I would say, and Robbie can correct me if I'm wrong, like, he's an actor's actor. Like, he loves that. Like, I literally
Yeah.
watch him love acting.
Yeah. Watching, and again, my God, the head on this boy is just gonna fucking
Man.
oh, sorry, man. Uh, but watching him in Amparo was for me a masterclass in of he was able to just get the whole room's attention, but in like
Not trying.
not trying, and in a I'm not gonna take attention away from everybody else, because you have those characters that, like, and you're just like, oh yeah, calm down a little bit. But he demanded the group, and the group was so, yo, after that thing all you would hear about is this fucking tour guide, and you're just like you're just like, okay, we get it.
No,
Thank you,
but
guys.
but to the point being, like, my methods, I don't think necessarily like Robbie goes out to seek my methods of
Right.
directing, right? I think that there's like a mutual respect and love, and at this point, like, brother sisterhood
Yeah.
that we have with each other. But what I appreciate, where like you would lend yourself a little bit more openly to my,
Yes.
we spent at least 15 minutes talking about Wicked, but Robbie at least is open enough, because there's actors who are like, I don't do it that way and I'm not gonna fucking do it.
Right.
But he always, and it actually is really fun for me because I watch him go like, this motherfucker is gonna make me fucking do this shit again. But he goes with it,
Yeah.
and he's open, and he's always doing that. And I'm telling you, like, two of you are here, but I won the lottery with 23 of you
Yeah, it was
saying yes to that. I know it's a little crazy. I know
Yeah.
it's a little weird. I know it's not what people are used to, but we were doing something different. We're constantly doing something different, and you guys always lend yourselves. And sometimes it doesn't work.
right.
Sometimes it's like, mierda, and you're like,
Okay.
There's a couple of times where I'm like pretty sure I was like, these two will never work with me again. But you keep coming back.
But you keep coming back to me. I wanna. This is the last time, but I want to touch a little more on Amparo, because I feel that anyone who participated in Amparo, it kind of changed our brain chemistry a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
And how we go through life, or how we see now certain things. Do you think Amparo not only changed the way you direct, but what you're gonna direct
Oh
leading
yeah,
forward?
yeah. Everything else bores me.
Yeah.
It does. Like I have utterly, I have succeeded in a regular play,
Yes.
and I have felt nothing.
Mm.
And it's not that you should be seeking feeling,
No, but
but from a place of challenge, from a place of
yes.
curiosity, from a place of like, as an artist, what you're trying to do. I have utterly failed
Mm.
at immersive theater. I have utterly failed and still have gotten much more fulfilling because it's like, okay, let's go again. Let's try again. That didn't work. Let's try. Well, that's the wrong system. Let's try. So
Mm.
it's a different. Sometimes I feel like people think that directors are just there to move actors. Um,
No.
it's really dumb. But what immersive does, or things like Amparo, or how I want to work, is that it gives opportunity as a director, as a storyteller,
Mm-hmm.
in a bigger way. Like
Mm.
you're like, me and Vanessa are like this working together, and it's just like, she writes this massive piece of like, where the hell did that come from?
Right.
But then you're also thinking like, okay, now we actually have to put this up
Mm-hmm.
and try to work it out uh together. Like
Right.
it's a different, I never want to work any other way. It's just so boring the other
No,
ways.
and I mean, I love all types of theater, but there's something about immersive that it, it really changed me as an actor. I think it gave me this confidence that I always had, but never knew how to tap into
Yeah.
it. Not that I don't deal with imposter syndrome,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
walk into a room and I have to convince myself, like, hey, you deserve to be in here just like
Yeah.
everyone else. But it gave me this knowledge of like, oh, if you can do immersive, you can do
Anything.
anything. And if you can do immersive good,
Because you're forced to be present.
yeah,
Because you can at least pretend in a stage play that the people are not there, that the fourth
right.
wall isn't there. But when somebody's like, dude, you like, the things
The
the
things.
things like, in the most serious of moments, somebody being a total dickwad, like
Right,
human beings being human beings.
right.
And the thing that Amparo taught me, as much as it taught me about a director, or it taught me about actors and acting, and what I seek for in that aspect, it taught me what an audience goes through, because
Mm,
they couldn't hide either.
yeah.
So you're watching someone laugh in a very vulnerable moment. Like, you're like, that person's really freaking nervous right
Which
now.
I think was one of the main things that changed my brain chemistry with Amparo was we hear our parents and our grandparents' experiences. We hear it growing up. Both Cuban, you and I are both Cuban American, so that's we heard those stories growing up. But l- living, I say living
Mm-hmm.
because but living that with 80-year-olds in the audience who have a total reaction to seeing the militia come out was like, oh my God, this is what it felt like. This
Yeah.
and we're feeling not even half of what they felt.
Yeah.
How important was it to you to share our story in the most, which was a big note for you that you used to give us all the time as actors, was like, we're saying a true story. If there's a tiny bit of lie in that, it ruins the whole thing. How did you approach that, but also not get so emotional and attached, because it is a really hard thing to do?
I don't know if I didn't get
I mean, I
attached.
feel like we all, yeah, we all
Like, I
did.
don't know if I did, but it's a weight on your shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
because you also know, like, these people are gonna come watch it. Like, usually when in like theater and on a regular stage or whatever, Sundays are the boring day,
Oh my
because
God,
but
Sundays were,
but I feel like Amparo was the opposite. It was like, Sundays is the day where it's at,
yeah,
and you better not mess it up, because dude, our people are resilient,
yeah,
and they've also swallowed a lot of pain,
mm-hmm.
a lot of it. But watching them, like, I'll never forget this lady being inside the prison scene, and her daughter crying, and she was like a brick. She was like, "Yep, this is exactly how it happened. this is exactly how it happened. And then afterwards, her telling her daughter for the first time what it was like to be a political prisoner.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, how am I even here right now?
The one that lives in my mind, and I'll replay it every now and then. You remember the older man con el burrito?
Oh my God.
You don't remember that?
No.
It was the time that like they were like, oh, you pick, this is the side of the revolution. This is like whatever. He had his burrito and he grabs it to throw it to Ernesto and was like, yo, like, I didn't leave Cuba for this. And it was this like,
Wow.
you can tell was this PTS thing, and his daughter, that's who killed me. Papi, esto es una obra. Papi, esto es una... And you're just like, oh shit. Like, well, my grandmother left after the club takeover, which as Margarita at the end, not seeing her walk in, I was like, what did wonders for me as as the character.
Yeah.
And I remember calling her after and I'm like, what happened? Like you weren't there. And she's like, this is an amazing show for people who did not have to live what we lived through, because it shows you what we had to go through. It gives you that feeling, but sometimes if you went through it, it was a little too hard.
Yeah. Well, that was the weird part to me, was like when people would leave and then I'm like, it's fine, don't worry. And then they would say to me, they were like, no, but it's good. It's good. I don't want you. I'm like, no. And they were like, no. This is how it was. So there, I think that's the ultimate validation. Not that you should be seeking validation,
right?
But when people are like, you know what, you're actually like, you actually see me and you actually hear me.
Yes.
I think this is not because of me. I think Vanessa is so obsessed with the Elian moment.
Yeah.
And talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, through like when you go back to it, we were kids when that happened. So
kids.
We don't really like, we were him.
Yeah.
Essentially. But when all those people were speaking from their heart of like, that kid needs to stay because XYZ, and then the rest of the world was like, you're freaking crazy. You're keeping a kid away from his father.
Right.
And the not understanding, our entire group of people is like, you like, no one understands me. So then when you do something and somebody's like, you got me, like you actually understood me and you're actually saying it right, then you're like, okay, check. Good.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
And I mean, to this day, I have people. The other day we went to Steven's Deli for brunch, Eddie and I, and this guy, first of all, que pena, we were in onesies because Eddie's like, let's go to brunch in onesies. And like, you know what? You gotta be fun sometimes.
Yes.
So we did it. But of course, the day that I was in a Sally onesie from The Nightmare Before Christmas, this guy comes up to my table and he's like, listen, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say I saw the Amparo Experience. You guys were amazing. Dude, that was 2019.
Yeah.
Went to an event once. This girl came up to me. She's like, my sister doesn't leave me alone. She says you did this show called Amparo Experience, but I'm like, girl, that's not her. Like, what are the chances? But it still happens. Renee just told me a story recently which is, Robbie, listen to this. He saw this guy at an event. The guy was like, oh my God, you're from the Amparo Experience, whatever. That show like was amazing. It changed my life. Please come to my house. I'm having like a little cigar thing.
That's the most Renee shit ever.
So Renee, like only Renee. And he goes to this guy's house. It's like the guy's dad sees him. He's like, oh my God, you changed my life with that show. Please sit down. They're smoking cigars. Out of nowhere, he sees Oliva. Which, for those who don't know, Oliva was my family's cigar company. It was founded by my grandfather. I can't talk that much about it. I'll start crying. But it came out and he texts me, hey, what was your family's cigar? But I don't know what I was in the pod, so I didn't answer. Or I don't know what I was doing. And he texted you and you told him. And he's like, fuck, is it Oliva? As soon as he said that, Lágrimas Negra started playing on the fucking radio, which people don't understand is just the magic that show had.
Dude.
Like things that would happen that you were just like, what was that? Like, why did I feel that? But it's just a show that I think changed a lot of people's life. I've met my fiance on that show. Like, it
You
changed my life,
did.
and
Robbie
so
got married.
Robbie got married. I
He
met
did get married,
Janessa
yeah.
because of that show.
Yep.
My God, thank you, thank you.
No, but like the thing that's kind of amazing, I remember. Uh, Obviously, I sound like Vanessa's my wife, but it's just like I spend every day with her.
Yeah,
So,
no.
but I remember there was one day that we were on the stage, talking to all of you, and me probably going on one of my dumb rants, directing whatever. And after we finished that, and she always brings this up, she's like, Vicky, I literally looked around the room and I was like, holy crap, there's like superstars.
Oh,
Like it's all these superstars. And like, I know it's only been 5 years, but look at everything that is happening for everybody. You're like, wow. Like
yeah.
that moment, it doesn't matter. It'll never, like, we're going to be 80. It doesn't matter.
No, I'll talk about that moment for the
But
rest of my life.
It changed us.
I'll talk for that moment for the rest of my
I
life.
also think, this is going to sound weird, I also think we all became better people.
100%.
Like,
100%.
and I feel it, like we were just talking about it. Like I feel it as soon as I'm like, I say with my people, as soon as my stomach like relaxes.
No, I'm telling you,
I'm like in a better place.
I had 2 panic attacks back to back the past couple of days. And this morning waking up, I'm in a show. We had a 12 to 12 day yesterday. Like
Intense.
as soon as we walk in and him and I start, back and forth, and then you walk in, I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm good. Like I'm fine.
It's changed.
But it's like with those people who like calm your nervous system, and it's not.
You don't go through what we go through and not become family. Like legitimately become family.
Talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Boom, boom, boom. Sharp left turn.
You and
Turn
I
left
just did a
1,000 feet
show
from-
together.
Yes, we did.
Laughs in Spanish. If you didn't come and see it, shame on you. It was my Gable stage debut. And that show was challenging in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
First, because I never made a post because it was just a weird time for all of us, but it was weird. But I do want to say the way that you handled.
Don't do it. See, now she cries and I don't. This is great. I like how this worked out. I was so nervous about crying this whole time. Don't cry. Marcela.
It's just nobody knew what you had going on behind the scenes.
Mm-mm.
And when we all learned about that, all I can think about was like, how is she coming here every day with the most amazing energy that you could ever imagine? Walking into a room with a smile, making sure that your actors have what they need to do what they had to do, while you were literally going through hell. First, I want to say thank you for being that kind of director. Being the director who literally leaves everything outside the door when like your whole world feels like it's collapsing. I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the process of not expecting what that end result was going to be, even though maybe,
yeah,
you know. So let's start from like the beginning when rehearsal started.
Yeah.
What?
So we gotta go back.
Yeah.
Because I want to say that I've been mourning my mom for like 12 years.
Which you and Eddie you had that kind of thing in common.
And actually Eddie was I don't think he knows this. Actually, both of you I'm going to call them touches. Like you guys literally just did like little things. Just like little like, hey, nudge over here, nudge over here, nudge over here. That gave me peace. And actually him saying to me like, hey, I'm here for whatever I know exactly what this is. And you giving me that little picture,
Mm.
like just, I mean, the queen of gift giving, like the queen. But it was a long time coming. Like, you know, n- all the people that are the most important people in my life that I met post college never really got to meet my mom.
Mm.
And aside from a person who was living with massive depression, with a group of people that didn't know how to deal with that or even know how to point to it,
Mm.
um, that took a lot. And, her health went insanely there. So I always think about this because I think about like the year before when I said yes to Laughs in Spanish,
Uh-huh.
like afterwards, hindsight is 2020. Um, it's like I didn't know I was saying yes to like one of the most, not the play itself, not the people, but to one of the most crucial moments of my life. I didn't know that. And when I think back about it, I'm like, holy shit, like it's insane to think about that at this one moment in your life, you're saying yes to an outcome that's gonna be one of the roughest things ever.
Right.
Um, but and that show was so hard to cast. It was like, it was like, I couldn't lock anybody in. And it's funny because two people I had thought about initially, and then pieces moved out of it. It
Mm-hmm.
was you and Mariana. Mariana, who played Mariana. Mari, who for a period of time was my
Yeah.
assistant and all this stuff. And she's always wanted to act. I mean, she is an actress. And so when I read the script, I'm like, she's the only person. She didn't come to audition.
Right.
You hadn't come to audition. And so it took really long time to cast that show. And so right before, let me go through the whole thing. I might get scattered brain, so I'm
You're
sorry.
good.
So right before the show, I was supposed to take a trip to Ireland,
Yes, I remember this.
which was gonna be like the break. I always need like a little bit. Well, I used to. I feel like now I'm just
Right.
going.
Yeah, yeah.
But before I was like very delicate. I hadn't gone through much in my life. And I was like, okay, I want to go on this trip. It was like all my friends since high school, like it was our 35th birthday trip, and we were going to go to Ireland. And the night before we're supposed to leave, we have to call the emergency on my mom. My mom had a lot of respiratory problems. She had diabetes, but the diabetes was under control. A lot of respiratory problems. And so we call the rescue. And let me just say this. Let me just put this in context. My mother was the funniest, most stubborn motherfucker there was on this planet. Because because literally that happens and the rescue's there and they give her this thing to open up basically her lungs and we're like, okay, let's go to the hospital. And she's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like, what are you saying that you're not going to the hospital? She's like, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm like, what are you have to go. At that moment, literally, I feel this is total nerd moment, but there's this scene in August Osage County,
Oh
the
my
end of the second
gosh.
act, where the daughter goes, I'm running shit now. That moment I lived and I understood for the first time in my fucking life what the fuck that was. Because literally she goes, I'm not going anywhere. The 12 guys from the fucking EMT were there. My brother was there because he was sleeping next door because his house, like the place he rented, was filled with roaches. So random. My dad, my aunt, they all go like that, vroom, and they look at me. I'm like, oh, so now I'm the one that's a step up to
the
this
plate.
lady. Okay, great. So I'm like, you have to go and blah blah blah. So it started being this thing, which is part of this whole process that I think like people think about the end of people's lives, and you really hope that the whole time you're gonna be like, I love you. It's all magical and soft. And no, it's like a lot of emotions. There was a lot of anger.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of like fight. There was a lot.
Yeah.
But the EMT was like, we can't take her home. I mean, we can't take her to the hospital if she doesn't consent. And so we're like, well, we have to do something. So you have to concede to like us getting medical care here. You have to concede to all these things. She's like, yeah. Limpiándose el culo, but yeah. then I learned a lot of things. So like, rehearsal started 2 weeks afterwards. So I didn't tell anybody I didn't go to Ireland because I was like off. So I took those 2 weeks to, I found out that her insurance just decided that they weren't going to cover her anymore.
Mm.
Um, I learned that she did not apply for things that she should have applied for to get medical care at the house. So those 2 weeks before rehearsal, instead of prepping for
You
rehearsal,
were.
I was trying to figure out how I was going to solve all these problems, which it took 2 weeks, but I got the insurance back. Um, we got some medical care, but we didn't get to the place. It never got to the point where I could get someone to come because you have to be a certain age, because Medicare has to kick in, because she never applied for disability.
Yeah.
Because my mother, being my mother, she was like,
I'm not.
I'm not. No, how would I? And this is her. This is who she was. She was like, how could I take that from someone who's in need? And I'm like, lady, you're in need. And that was the whole battle with her. It's like, you're in need. And the depression was really bad. The depression was really, really bad. And you know, my mom would never actually go through with like unaliving herself, as
Right.
for social media content.
Thank you.
Um, but and I think that's because she was like very Catholic. Um, but I'm pretty sure she also was like, I'm not gonna stop this from happening. So we're just gonna go through this process. I remember yelling at her and being like, "You're committing
Like you're letting.
the longest freaking form of this, and I'm not gonna stand by this."
Yeah.
So it was a lot. So that was the place to go home to. But it's not like, I am an extrovert in the sense of, people think like extrovert is just being loud. Yes, I am loud. I 100%. But I do get energy from people. So going into rehearsal was my vacation. Going into rehearsal was the place where, and I wasn't at my best. Like, I wasn't. I'm still not at my best.
But I think you held yourself to a certain standard, but like what you created under the circumstances that you were in
Yeah.
was fucking amazing.
Yeah, but it's very frustrating to know you're not 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Like you feel it. Like you feel it inside your body. You're like not there. And I want to say, like, Christmas last year, nobody knew this, which is the scary part, except my mom knew. Because my mom knows everything. Not because I told her, but because she knows. I feel like I could sense that something was happening. I was like in a massive depression.
Yeah.
Nobody knew. And like I remember Christmas Eve trying to go into the house to like celebrate Christmas Eve, and I could not, like, I would just cry. And so I was like, "Hey, I don't feel well. I'm going next door." And everybody else was like, "What the hell are you doing?" I spent Christmas Eve in my bed with my dog. My mom ordered me soup from Pollo Tropical, which, if you need to know, Pollo Tropical is open on Christmas Eve. And watching the Grinch. I don't even like the Grinch, and I watched the Grinch. And but meaning, from that moment, and I would say like now I can't even say I'm getting out of it. Like, it's
It has
way better.
episodes.
It has episodes,
Yeah.
and you get deep, and
Yep.
and I don't know this yet because we're only a couple months into this. But the the thing with depression is that you don't like, I don't know. It's like I feel like there's like a glass wall between me and me.
Oh.
Like there's the me inside trying to reach the out. Sorry, I'm like popping into the microphone.
We talked about that in the last pod that just got released, of like, you see you very clearly. She's literally standing right there. And no matter what you do, you can't get her.
No, it's weird, and it's like the thing is that, like, what's interesting. So anyway, what's interesting is that it's livable, but you have to deal with it. So, which is why now I'm like way more vocal about it. I'm like, hey, by the way, my best friend Bertha was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I'm like, "I didn't." It's also, you feel shame. You're like, how? Also because I've always been a very chipper person.
And I think you are the energy source for a lot of people around
Right.
you. Which happened to me a lot. I was an energy source for so many people around me until I like the only energy I had was the energy to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's shame that comes with not
Right.
being that. Because you're
Yeah.
like, which is the whole thing that I'm trying to learn now about self-worth. Like, you don't have to be anything.
Mm-mm.
Like, I was like, no, if I don't bring joy to people, then who the hell am I to the, like, if I'm not giving you life, what am
Right.
I doing?
Yeah.
And so then you're like, okay, well, I need to reevaluate this. So, but anyway, to go back to the original story, because like a Cuban, I went 5 freaking routes everywhere.
We love that here.
Uh, you guys were the source of energy. You guys, to me, were like, I got to laugh. Thank God it was a comedy. Do you imagine
Yeah.
doing Amparo at that time?
Oh my God. Oh my
Jesus.
God.
But it was a comedy and we got to laugh. And then it happened literally in the middle of tech on Mother's Day, because you had to make a big old exit.
On Mother's Day.
But Vic, I have a question, because
Yeah.
you said like that 12 years ago was when she started to kind of decline. What was it that initially set her on that kind of path towards depression?
So I don't know. So there had to be something in there, because my grandma at one point randomly just told me, sí, yo tuve en los 45, yo tuve depresión. And I'm like, abuela,
Thanks. Tell me.
hi, nobody talked about this. And this is the other thing I think, people don't talk about menopause enough.
No.
And menopause is insane. And actually, Vanessa and I have talked about it a lot, because she's like, your body is like literally becoming something else.
Yeah.
So I now realize that when all the big health things started happening to her were around the time of menopause. So she had a lot of trouble losing weight. Menopause did not help. She had lost, it took her like 3 years to like you lose 50 pounds. And she lost them and she was looking great. And then it's not about looking great. She was feeling great.
Right.
Like you can see it in her photos. She's like bright. She's like all this stuff. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she gains the 50 pounds in 3 months.
Wow.
And she's like, and doctors wouldn't believe her. And she's like, something's up with me, because how is it that it took me 3 years to lose 50 pounds, but in 3 months I've gained them back?
Yeah.
Like, how is that possible? I haven't changed anything. Menopause. Nobody's looking at it. I'm saying this now. I'm not sure, right?
Yeah.
Because no doctor ever got there. And
Right.
then it was like years of trying to solve a problem, until the point where like nobody would listen to her. And no one would believe her, and everybody, even the last call we had with a doctor 2 days before my mother's death, was the lady at the doctor that through a virtual care thing, being like, bueno, lo que usted tiene que hacer es comerse un plato así pequeño de habichuelas, y eso es todo por el día.
Ma'am, what?
And I'm like, that sounds aggressive as fuck, and that sounds incorrect.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my friend Melly. She's like, what does that even mean? Like,
Yeah,
what the hell does that even mean? And there was like all this stuff of like people looking at her for being overweight and literally saying, it's like, you have no control. You like can't. And there are moments where that was true. There are moments where that was true, and because she was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna eat whatever the fuck I want.
Like you said, people don't talk enough about menopause, but I think it's like women's health in like general, like hormones. Like I don't think people understand like what it can do to you physically, mentally, emotionally.
Everything.
Like if your hormones are off balance, if you're dealing with menopause, if you're dealing with polycystic ovaries, if you're dealing with any of these things that have your hormones up and down, it's like,
well, she's the main reason I stopped taking birth control.
wow.
Because I had started birth control. She's like, why? I'm like, oh no, because the gyno said that I should and all this stuff, and the gyno got upset with me. I'm like, well, you're not my gyno anymore,
Well,
because I stopped. I
yeah.
stopped and I was like, I'm not gonna inject. I'm not ingest.
And
Inject
Jack.
birth. I'm not gonna ingest this thing that like I had told the gynecologist. I was like, look, I don't want to lose my, like, I need this all to be the same. Like I cannot have anything that like removes my period. No, this is fine. This is the lowest. It removed it. I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. Um and it was mainly because my mom's like, don't mess with your hormones, don't mess with your hormones. And it's probably the reason I won't freeze my eggs.
Mm.
And I know that I'm like in the ripe age of geriatric ovaries or whatever the
Yeah.
heck that means. But I watching my friend go through the injections and the hormones and a year later still dealing with it, and I'm like, I can't do
Ugh.
it. I can't do it. Not with the history that I have with my mom. Like, you know what I mean? Like that is hereditary and I
Yep.
can't mess with that. But yeah, nobody talks about and I think the hormones were part of part of the depression, all that, and people not listening to her then led also to her just being like, well, F it.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna. And it was years. But also, like, her spirit changed a little bit. She was still there. She was still there. But, like, the person, like, all my friends are like, oh, you're so bright. I'm like, you guys don't even know. Like, my mom was the literal sun. My
Yeah.
mom was like, dude, that lady, her funeral, people I had never met in my life that were like,
Mm.
your mom saved my life. And they weren't like exaggerating, like legitimately, your mom saved my life. Your mom helped me come into this country. Your mom paid for things that I didn't know. Like my mom was just like fucking saving people's lives without anybody knowing.
Mm.
And you're watching these people like have these reactions and you're like, which is like utter pride
Right.
as a daughter.
Right.
Utter sadness knowing that like the last couple years of her life weren't like, I don't think she deserved that.
Right.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
There's dickwads on this planet.
And I think something about grief is the anger you feel to like whatever power or whatever of just like that was Eddie's big thing with his dad was the way that he died. Until this day, he repeats it every now and then. He's like, yo, he didn't deserve that. He was such a good guy. Like, he didn't deserve that. And I think that's the thing with grief is that you're so angry at life while trying to be grateful for the things you do have.
Yeah. It's also that I think everything happens for a reason because it took forever to schedule us actually having this conversation. But
Yeah.
I think that there's things happening now that I'm like the firsts are harder. Everybody warns you like, oh, it's your first, like I could feel everybody like, it's your first Thanksgiving, it's your first Christmas. Okay. But nobody, it's just like all the things like my kids don't get to meet their grandma. Like, are you kidding me? They don't get to meet her?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, those things are like, but I also put it like, look, my mom didn't win awards or whatever. My mom didn't do things, but my mom changed people's lives.
Yeah.
And did so much good in the time that she was here and even when she couldn't do much, she was making sure that my aunt in Cuba had everything she needed.
Yeah.
And finding gluten-free bread to send to my gluten allergic cousin that lives in Cuba because there's no such thing as gluten as well. There's barely bread. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so you look at that and you're like, you know what? How about you make the time that you have worth it? Like there's really beautiful things. And the thing that I learned with my mom's, I actually learned about love through my mom's death. And all the anger that I had when I actually had to take care of her, I'm going to put it in a weird way. Like once you wipe a person's ass,
Yeah.
it's love for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like there's something about that vulnerability of like, you're going to give your everything, like this pain, because the anger is really just a blockage for pain.
Right. Absolutely.
So, but when just literally take care of someone, and that kind of melts away. And that, I think, is why I'm not as angry now. But I was very angry before. Which I regret to a certain extent, like how angry I was when she was here, and like, because I wanted her to live, I wanted her to breathe. Literally, I wanted her to breathe, and just wouldn't happen. So there was a lot of,
and again, dealing with all of that, and then coming. And you said that a lot of like the right place at the right time with the right people.
yeah, 100%.
I remember her passing, and then we had to like go back like a life as usual, and everyone was like, how do we do this? Like, how do we continue doing this show? And then honestly, I went home, I think 2 days after that, and I don't know if I was talking to her, I don't know if I was talking to the universe, but I said something needs to happen. Like, we need a pause. Like, there needs to be a pause on this, and I don't know how. And the universe said, say less, girl. And then I fucking fell downstairs and broke my ankle, and we had to take a pause. And it was rough, but I remember coming back. I took 2 days, and then I'm like, we got to get back in there.
Yeah.
I got to stage this thing. We went back, and you gave me your mom's shirt that day, and you were like, it's okay. You cry if you need to cry. And in my mind, I was like, I am going through like the smallest thing
It's not the smallest thing
compared to like what you were going through. And it was just like, oh, if she can fucking show up for us and have a fucking smile on her face, bitch, you're gonna hop on this stage better
and
than
hop you did, honey.
and hop I did.
Hop you fucking did. It actually made the show better. But I think that's the problem. Is like, look, I'm not the first person nor the last person who's gonna lose their mother, and unfortunately, everybody at some point in this room is gonna have to go through that. But I also that is a big moment for you. You had been waiting for this since you were 14 years old, and then this thing happens, and you're like, fuck, like. It sounds so weird. Like, yeah, so what? My mom died. Like, I don't know, not so what, but like legitimately, like, yeah, that happened. And also that doesn't take away from the fact that this thing that you've been dreaming about made you feel like it was at jeopardy. And I will never forget Eddie calling me and being like, okay, can the character like hop? I'm like, I'm going to make that character hop around. Like, don't worry. We're going to figure out where the crutches are. Like, we'll figure it out. But this is the thing that I'm telling you, that whole week, beyond that week. But that was like a moment of like, look at this man love his woman so much that he's like, mind you, you were at the same hospital that it had happened at. Oh. So like it's like there was a lot going on in my head of like,
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and thank God you weren't even. I think I had like asked like what room you were in or something, and you weren't in the same one. And I was like, God. Thank God, because that would have been too creepy. But the thing that I think was amazing with you is just like, I remember the moment somebody was complaining about their costume, and this one's like on her little wheelchair up there, and they're doing this stuff, and we literally look at each other and start laughing
hysterically, because
it's like. To me, it was just like, here's a human being a human about their costume.
Wow.
While here's a lady hopping around in a foot, another lady who can't say the word mommy, which is all over the script. Might I add? Let's also talk about the fact.
Let's just talk about the show was a mother-daughter fucking show, dude. Like, but that's why I'm telling you, like, I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm not just saying, like, I think I'm strong.
You are very.
Right? But I really, really don't think I would have been able to do what you did.
You would have.
You really?
Yeah.
I do
think so. The reason I say that is because emotional wounds are similar to physical wounds. When you twisted your foot, blood went rushing, and it made cushion to make sure that it healed itself.
Yeah.
When that happened to me, my entire listen, I knew my friends loved me. I knew it. I knew my family loved me. But I did not know, like it was like vroom, like it was like a fluffy pillow couch thing that came around me.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I don't care what anybody says about anything. That's why I will always respect Barry Newport, and I will always respect Katie, and I will always have a special love for Gable Stage, because they could have been like, well, you're out of here. You know, your mom died. You could have gotten fired.
100%.
And they chose to be number one humans. Like, Katie would pick me up. She was like, and she would tell me, today you're doing 2 hours. You're only doing transitions.
No.
And then you're coming back home. And then we're good. And they were coordinating with Vanessa, and Lucy was coordinating over there. Everybody was just like making shit happen. And I'm like, dude.
Not because I dreamt about being on the stage. It's not any of that. It has been one of the most amazing theater experiences I have had, because they care
As
about
humans.
their people. Like the night before rehearsal, I got the scooter thinking that I could kneel on it. And I couldn't, because I had a torn meniscus and I couldn't kneel on it. And I went to a full blown panic attack, because I said, they're gonna fire me. There's nothing else that I can do. Like there's nothing else. And I remember coming in, Barry bought a bunch of stuff. Like everybody was just like, I finished that show, and again, it did something to my brain chemistry. I think there was a lot of stuff going on that affected us, but brought us really close. But I don't think I would have been able to do that in any other theater.
No.
With any, like...
No, because they care about their people.
Yeah, oh my God.
I will never forget Barry Newport's face. She was like, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, Barry, you're going to have to, and she really helped me with the mother-daughter scenes, because I remember that first day we got through the transition. I was like, okay, great. I can do that. I can do the comedy scenes. And then I just would say the word mommy. And of course, like, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, thank you, mommy, for everything. Like, literally, that's the line. I'm like, come on.
But I want to know.
God's got a good sense of humor, though. That's pretty good.
I want to know. You fucked us up for the rest of the run, because she tells Mari.
That was fucked up on my end.
I'm going to fucking cry again. She tells Mari, your last line. Thank you, mommy. Do it for me. Like, yo, that fucked us up for the rest. Every time.
But
she would say, thank you, mommy. Even Will's a fucking crybaby. Like, Will was crying at everything. But we would all be backstage sobbing hysterically. And it's a show that, and maybe it's just you and this is what you do to your actors, but you really do change us in a way that it makes us, that show grounded me in a way that I never, ever thought that I could be grounded, to the point that people hear me act now and they're like, oh my God, you're very grounded.
I obviously love working with you. We've done it way too many times. And
keep on going.
Still not enough. But it's one of my favorite performances of yours.
Thank you.
Like, to this day. Because anybody else could have gotten that role and tried to make her super, like, yeah, of course, I said that she's from Hialeah. And, I mean, come on, who else?
I mean, hello.
Hello. But you grounded her. You made her so real. Like, it's just like, it's still one of my favorite performances. And also because, you know, when we were younger, and I'm glad that we can say this now, because now enough time has happened where, like, you also met me as a young director.
Yeah. And as a young, and I think that we were so focused on how people perceived us, so focused on, like, you know, all of that, that I remember, for laughs in Spanish, like, putting my hair in a ponytail. And I know it sounds stupid.
No,
but putting my hair in a ponytail, never on stage, ever. Not worrying about how I look sitting down on the, like, I didn't worry about those things.
Which is, like, crazy to think about. Like, literally our first moment together, one of our first moments was us trying to figure out ugly on stage
Oh my
with Amparo.
God.
That like when you look at that, I love the arc of our
I love
of
the
our
arc
friendship.
of our friendship. I love it. I love the arc of our friendship.
Now
Um,
I'm like I literally I'm like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I do without you.
Stop. You're gonna make me cry. But
No,
what?
but it's true. It's true because, you know, everybody has a place. Like, I don't know. I know it sounds silly, but um there's like your little detallitos, like the way that my dad glows every time he sees Robbie
Oh,
and Randy.
uh,
Like,
That's my boy, dude.
dude, like loves. Like the other day, he didn't know that Robbie was coming to record something, and he like lit up. And Randy, because we were filming the movie, Randy was there, and he came out. And he was like so happy, and it's just like because, but that's because people's hearts, like you, our people's hearts are so special. Like,
no, and it's what you said of like, I didn't know that I needed those people
yeah,
at that very moment, even though you have a large village. But it was just,
it's a specific group of people.
it's a specific
But
group.
and to say something, eh, this is not like bullshit. Like, let me pretend to be humble. No, legitimately, I I don't think I'm this is gonna sound weird. I don't think I'm that great. In the sense of like,
Please.
no, and it's not self-deprecation. I think that my superpower is seeing how great other people are.
Okay, but I don't think you can do that without really, you have this power of knowing who you are and what you can give, that it gives us people a safe place to be like, oh, we can be our authentic self. That doesn't happen with a lot of people. We show others like who they need us to be at that moment or who we
Yeah.
want them to think that we are. And then there's certain humans like you on this earth that it's just you do something that you lift this wall and you're like, oh, no, no, here I can say what I need to say. I can be who I need to be without judgment, without anything. It's this safety. You're the safety for a lot of people. And it goes also back to your work. Being an actor where you don't feel safe in a room, and I've been in rooms
Yeah.
where I don't feel safe, you bring this safeness, you bring this friendship, you bring this understanding that you bring to your everyday life.
But I think we can go in circles here. But I really mean this because I think, look, I what's a director in an empty room? Nothing. An idiot with ideas, right?
Right.
Like the people who put their bodies on their line and the first ones that are gonna get critiqued
Right.
are actors. It's just the truth. Like I can, you guys could all revolt. I like it's kind of thrilling. I hope it never happens, but it's like, you know, how do you like? There's all these people who are the face, literally have to put the face to whatever somebody wrote and whatever somebody, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and have to like the people dealing face to face. I could watch from, I could hide and watch,
Yeah.
but the person who's looking at someone in the eye while they're going through, it's you guys. So I mean, how could you not try to make that the easiest job possible because you're making me look good? You guys, that's the thing that I'm like always weirded out with people. It's like, are you sure that I look good? I'm like, if you look like an idiot, I look like an idiot. I'm not that selfless. I'm actually pretty egotistical. Like, yeah, I want to look good. I want to look really good. I want people to think I'm really amazing. I need you to be amazing so that I look amazing.
Oh my God.
Which
Yeah,
also,
I get that.
yeah, and that's a lesson to also directors. Don't be nice to be nice.
Be nice.
Don't go on a power trip. I'm so annoyed. There's some directors that have really damaged people because I sound like an animal shelter person. But like there's actors who come back and I just literally just say hello or something and they're like, "You're the nicest director I've ever worked." I'm like, I have not done anything. I
No.
have just treated you like a person. But there's because people can think that this role is about control and it's actually the place of least control.
Wow. Boom. We're gonna wrap up, but I want to talk about the new film that you're like working on,
Oh.
because being a director for theater, I feel like is one thing, but then doing movie magic is like a whole other thing.
Yeah.
You have a great cast, but just like Randy alone, Randy,
Randy?
Ruben.
Randy,
How do I get to be a tree in this movie?
dude, let me tell you.
Carolina, like it's just Natalie, like it's a great, looked like so much fun because you rapped already.
We wrapped. It's talk about, it's just like, I'm telling you, good actors make you look good. A good DP makes you look good. But it's so fun, and it's a movie about shame. And
Oh.
so Natalie's character comes back from New York after utterly failing as a comedy writer.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she is helping her tío, Ruben, at a kid's party dressed as a grape. And it happens to be her high school nemesis's kid's birthday, and also everybody that she went to high school with.
Is Caro the high school nemesis?
Of course, 100%.
You better get it, Carolina.
100%. And they nailed it. They're so funny.
Oh
But
my
the
God.
thing is, like, it's such a Miami story, and it's so, like, you're getting people who are really good at what they do, and we're so selfless and so, like, they just gave themselves, and they
Ugh.
like trusted, and then just a bunch of kids, which is always a fun challenge for me,
Right.
getting them. But kids are freaking adorable, and they give zero fucks.
They give
zero fucks. I'm like, I'm not gonna say what it is because you gotta watch the movie, but they do a thing, and they're like, okay, and they just do it, and I'm like, wow,
Kids have no pena.
zero.
And honestly, like, when does that shift
When
happen?
we start making fun of each other, I watched it happen. My first job ever was teaching 6-year-old girls theater, and I watched it happen, and I was like, it happens here. And they were like mean to each other. And it was like, you watch it happen, you're like, oh.
If anyone's ever mean to the girls, I will literally come after them if you want. Because I know that you're like a big time actor and you gotta like hide your face. But I will.
I can hire you.
You can hire
to
me.
fucking-
I'll show up at that playground and be like, you, come over here. Don't. Don't you ever. No, but it looked like so much fun. You guys didn't post a lot because then I feel like, where
I mean, we should have posted more, to be honest.
but I was like,
It was a good time. It was a good time. And it was also cold, and it was so nice. It was like chilly. I liked it. I love directing film.
yeah, I was gonna say my first experience with you with film was the Amparo Experience, like digital,
Yeah.
which wasn't my first experience with film, but it was my first experience that I was like, how do I do more of this? Like, it was so great. Where do you find the differences, and what do you love? Like, what is it that you're like, oh, I really love this?
Well, what I love, I think that the main difference is, like, when I'm directing theater, it's about building a path for the actor to be consistent,
Okay.
right? So you have to be consistent, and then figure out ways for them not to get bored while they're repeating it for, in many cases, 8 months straight. Film, what I like and what I've been like loving more is just like about getting those getting those options, getting that good take. So, we have to get like the base, but then it's like, and especially with comedy, like letting Randy and Natalie and Ruben just be like, go do whatever you want right now.
Oh my God, I cannot wait.
So you like so you're like watching them play, and you're watching them try something different, but also it's harder. I have even more respect for the actors. Like, Natalie was a freaking, what a badass.
Wow.
She didn't miss a shot. She didn't miss
Ugh.
for 2 days straight. And she would like show up, and she would go boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, wow. And then I was like, all right, let me toss this at you. Let me toss this at you. And it's also really collaborative. And I love people. I think I've said I'm an extrovert. I really love like having people to bounce ideas off of, like capturing a moment, capturing something magical. Like there's nothing like that feeling of like, yes, we were rolling on that.
Yeah.
and I don't know where it's gonna fit in the edit, but it's gonna like
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
know you have it, and that is just like it's a different game, but I love it. I love
No,
it.
I am so excited. Honestly, anything with Ruben.
Ugh.
Robert just showed me the video that they posted. Like, come and find me. What was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Come and find me. Come and
Yeah,
find
me.
find me. And it's just he's magical. And
He is,
and
and he's I love working with him. It's years now of working together,
right.
and so I don't let him get away with his bullshit because everybody lets him do whatever he wants because he's cute and old, and I see
Robbie.
it. Like literally, he like says something, and everybody's like, "Quack, quack, 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 quack," and I'm like, Ruben. But he is such like everybody laughs with Ruben, but it is the best timing of an actor I've ever seen in my life. His timing's impeccable. There is just like he just knows. He just like
Oh my
it's
god, and
freaking hard.
him and Randy together.
Oh,
Oh my god. I can't. I'm so excited for that. Cuz
I
they're
can't wait.
Randy's just another one that like he can do everything, he can play everything, and
Need him to sing and play the guitar? He's
he's
got,
got it. Need him to be a little sassy? He's got it.
Need him to like rip your soul from the inside? Got it.
Need him to be a man. He got like all of it.
Cuban coffee? He's got
Got it.
The only person that messes
You're
with
welcome,
him,
Randy, for this incredible shout out.
actually everybody, like I'm glad that Rudy Vanderhall is having the moment because
Oh.
he's had that character for forever.
I met that character. I met him, and he asked me a couple crazy questions.
He's insane.
Yeah, he's like a little crazy.
I met him when I was 21 years old, and I'm forever changed.
I feel like him and Theater Baby. Yo, him and
Damn.
Theater Baby.
That's a collab right there.
That's a collab.
You
Lucy
heard it
Lopez.
here first.
You heard it here first. Thank you.
Thank
First
you.
of all, thank you for just being you. Thank you for
no me hagas
No,
esto.
I have to do it because you give credit where credit is due, and I'm very much of like giving people their flowers, and I've learned that through mental health, and I've learned that through depression, that just one phrase or one thing can like really help push a person forward, and it's
Yeah.
just like giving you your flowers of just like you're an amazing daughter, you're an amazing friend, you're an incredible director, producer, like all those things, while also just putting people before you. And we don't meet a lot of people like you in this world, and I'm grateful that you're in my life, and I'm grateful that
I don't know where to put myself right now.
Yeah.
Like she's looking at me with the most kind, loving eyes on this planet, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself right now.
and just thank you for your friendship, and thank you for
Thank you for your friendship.
being who
I really mean that. It's not because you said it to me. It's like
No.
legitimately. Like I love hugging you. Okay. God,
I love I love it. Wait, you guys should see us when we see each other. It's like, hello, me Vicky. Alpha by Glenda. This is gonna be our. Robbie doesn't know what we're doing because he's a hater.
We're holding space.
We're holding space. Ariana, at one point,
No.
Cynthia was talking about something, and
No.
Ariana.
No.
My
Nothing makes me laugh more than Robbie's faces. And nothing. Because he legitimately is like, I can't do it. That's the line.
No.
That's the fucking line.
Yeah.
I was fine with the rum.
Yeah. Holding
Fucking wicked's the
space.
line.
Yeah, that's-